Hello and welcome to polyplane.com. Today we're going to be talking about tidy files. It is what it sounds like. It's very easy when you're modeling to just haphazardly apply your model to either one layer or multiple layers and not name stuff, and it gets a little bit sloppy. It becomes hard to navigate what's what and what's on what layer and why it's on that layer. And this can lead to some pretty big confusion when you get into a whole lot of things. So what's on my screen right now is a retail shelf system. The sides are known as uprights and the center is a peg wall, and then those are attached by a top rail, and I'll zoom in here, and there's a couple of side rails here, and there's a cap on the top of it. And it's a pretty basic assembly, but it kind of illustrates what I'm trying to say. You'll notice that one piece is purple, one piece is blue. Some of these have like a white outline. I'll go to wireframe so you can see the line color a little better. And what I'm showing here is that, okay, this is white, so it must be the same, and this is purple, but this piece is black, and it all gets really confusing. And if you look over here in the layer palette, there's no names to anything. So if I click this on and off, I can see, okay, that's that part, and the blue one, layer 3, that's that part. It kind of works if you're matching things by color. So if I click on this top rail and go to layer, I can change the display color by layer, but sometimes you want like a specific color, so you can select a red color, click OK, and then that piece will be red. But I find it's more helpful to go and have the display color be by layer. That way you can quickly see, okay, if it's blue, I look over here at the blue layer, that must be layer 3. But we can be a little bit more clean than this. Let's take a look at a more clean version of this file. So let's look at this file here, where I have everything now organized within layers and even sublayers. Now, in this file, I have the components with their names, with their colors reflecting by layer. So each layer has an individual color assigned to it. If you just click on this square, you can change that to whatever you want, and it'll actually update that color. Let's use something a little more drastic so you can see the change clearer. So now that went from blue to pink because I just changed the layer color, because it's assigned up here in the object properties as by layer. Now, one of the benefits about this is I can now select one of these items, and in the object properties you get an option for name. Now I've named this one right upright, and its counterpart left upright, and you can see it's on uprights and its color is by display layer. But let's say that the layer palette was closed and I didn't have any access to it, or I didn't feel like opening it up. What I could do is actually type select layer, S-E-L, layer, and this is a Rhino specific command, but you can do something very similar to this in other 3D programs. And I can say I want the uprights, or that color that's kind of mauvey, and click OK, and then anything that's on that layer will actually become selected. Now let's do another hypothetical where I say SEL layer, and I don't exactly know the name, or maybe there's a duplicate color so that two things are colored the same, and they never should be, really. If you're taking the time to organize your files, you should do everything different colors. But if you click pick, you can actually pick an object and it'll tell you what layer it's on, and then you can click OK, and then anything again on that layer will become selected. Now, one thing to note on that select layer command, SEL layer, if you have things within sublayers, say I have this assembly here, and click OK, well, nothing's selected. That's because it has sublayers in it. If I type SEL layer again, and I actually select one of the sublayers, say the caps, and click OK, then I can select a layer, because that's actually a layer. The easiest way to think about it is it's kind of like what Photoshop groups are, if you've ever used Photoshop. When you create, say, a new layer, for instance, I'll call this new layer, it becomes a layer. But if you create a sublayer, you can now think of this more as a group than a layer. So anything in here is actually a layer, and that's more of a group. And you can turn it on and off and everything. So that's kind of fun and useful. And then the other great thing about this is, say I have a secondary instance of this, of what I'm going to call a layer, even though it's technically a group, even though you can select other things and group them together just for keeping things straight, we're going to call this a group even though it's a layer, and these are all sublayers. We have a secondary instance of this whole thing, only it's called exploded versus assembled. So I'll turn that on, and you can see now all the components, including the uprights, are within that group or layer. And if everything is turned on, but I turn off the exploded layer, you're going to see the light bulbs of everything in the subgroup are kind of half on, half off. That means that they're technically on, but because they're a sublayer of the layer exploded, they have to appear off. So that's why you get the half light bulb. That's what that means. And then you can lock everything like you would in case you don't want to select it or you need it to stay put. The other really good thing about keeping your files organized like this is because now I can have certain elements on certain layers and turn them on and off for different viewing. So say I wanted to do a rendering of this assembly here. Well, what if I wanted to do it with the dimensions on? And I've already done my dimensions. Well, by putting them on their own layer here, now I can just go through and take a screen cap or do a rendering with the dimensions visible. And when I don't need them, I can just turn them off. And this is going to save you a lot of sanity. And when you're first starting out, it's kind of a pain to have to go through these steps of, okay, we want to do a layer and then some sub layers and assign colors and names to everything. But once you get into the groove of it, it really doesn't take that much time, and it's actually going to save you some time in the long run. So I highly recommend you practice using layers and sub layers to organize your files. You're going to wind up saving yourself a ton of time and make things a lot more easily viewable. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.